Alright, so you've got Mad Mondays, Taco Tuesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, but most importantly, you have Worth Watching Wednesdays. Alright, it is time for another episode of Worth Watching Wednesdays, and today I am going to be talking about the movie Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock. Now, I am personally a really big Alfred Hitchcock fan. This might seem a little bit biased, but I think Rear Window is a fantastic movie. It stars Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly. The plot is centered around this action news photographer played by Jimmy Stewart. Now, what his job is practically to go into war zones, go to races, go to these big action events and capture, photograph them so that they can get photos of it in the paper. Now, he is unfortunately in a wheelchair because he was hit by a car at a race as it was crashing out of control. So he broke his leg, and now he's in a wheelchair, and he's not really happy with being there just sitting still, not knowing what to do. So in his spare time, he is now spying on everyone else in his apartment complex out of his rear window, using his camera as like a, his big telephoto lens as like a telescope to spy on people. And this kind of lands him in trouble when one day he thinks he sees his neighbor kill his wife. Kind of a big deal. He's not sure what he saw, but he thinks he saw that, and he thinks his neighbor has put her in a box and is going to dump her in the river. So that's essentially the setup to this mystery thriller that's going on here. And Jimmy Stewart does a really, really good job at playing that guy who's kind of, frustrated. He's kind of stern, but also he's really likable. It's really hard not to like Jimmy Stewart in any movie that he's in. He's a fantastic actor, and he just plays likable characters and acts likably. And Jimmy Stewart's love interest in the movie is played by Grace Kelly, and she plays a movie star, and she is extremely attractive, and she's extremely attracted to Jimmy Stewart. She does a fantastic job at her role. She's both attractive, she carries herself well, she's actually a little bit of a comedic role in the movie too. She's a really interesting character, and so is Jimmy Stewart, and their chemistry works perfectly in the movie. And if you're going to be talking about an Alfred Hitchcock film, you are of course going to be talking about the cinematography, because Alfred Hitchcock has a way of just using the camera in really unique ways and making things flow really well and giving you these insights into specific shots that you normally wouldn't have and making you see things in a different way, and he definitely does that in spades in Rear Window. For instance, when Jimmy Stewart is looking out his window, you're often getting these POV shots through his telephoto lens looking around at people, so you are essentially seeing what Jimmy Stewart is seeing. You're being brought up to speed on things as Jimmy Stewart is being brought up to speed on them. And that helps keep a movie that literally takes place entirely in one room from really one point of view. It keeps it interesting. It works really well and makes you not just get bored and start twiddling your thumbs going, when is this going to be over? Another thing that I think helps the movie really hold up is the fact that it uses very naturalistic acting. Because in movies made in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, male actors had a way of being kind of very one note about how they deliver dialogue.
For instance, if they were having a conversation, they'd often sound mildly interested with a little bit of concern in their voice. And if something was going wrong, it was really going wrong!
And I think that may have come somewhat from the days of radio recording and stage plays and things where there was sort of a different sort of twist on acting. I think what helps the movie hold up really well is both Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly have a very naturalistic approach to acting. They feel like real people. They feel like they're really there. You feel like you're watching the characters, not watching actors portraying characters. And of course, something has to be said about the guy who plays the villain in this film. I don't know his name, but he's really good at just carrying this instantly imposing figure. He hardly says any lines of dialogue in the entire film because most of the time you're just seeing him through Jimmy Stewart's telephoto lens, so you're kind of just sitting there watching him. But everything he does is calculated very carefully. It's executed very slowly. He has this imposing presence to him, and you know that he means business with everything that he does, which makes him a very intimidating character. It makes you sort of afraid for the main characters because he's the one they're up against, and he is a very intimidating villain. Now, something else that really impressed me about Rear Window the first time I saw it was the fact that there's hardly any music in the film other than the main title. And as far as I'm aware, I think there is no actual soundtrack other than the sound elements that are actually in the film, such as music he hears playing from other people's apartments and things like that. Which again, helps set the movie apart and make it unique in its own right and helps it not just blend in with other films from the same time period. So all in all, the film is definitely a fantastic watch. It's directed by Alfred Hitchcock, who is one of the greatest directors of all time. It's a very original film, shot very originally. It's acted incredibly well by Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly. The film is overall just a really well done film. Now I will say, it is very slowly paced because you're sort of dealing with things unfolding in this very slow, realistic pattern. So if you have a shorter attention span, it may not be the best for you, but I still really like it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give the film an 8, because I think that Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly do a fantastic job, Alfred Hitchcock does a fantastic job directing, and I think it's just one of those films that you kind of have to see because it's one of the original thrillers that really sort of laid the groundwork for that genre to be. Alright everybody, thank you for watching. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and please leave a comment down below of what you'd like to hear me talk about next week. I'll see you later.